Welcome to the Old School Love Podcast, where first loves never die. And today we're going to talk about the Schmooze, Steve Summers, the original voice of WFAN, before the likes of Susan Waldman turned it into a Yenta Breath Shriek Fest. Yenta Breath Shriek Fest. Holla! Steve Summers Schmooze Day. Holla! Old School Law Podcast. Schmooze Alert. Ugh, I'm not into it. Do I really care about Steve Summers anymore after he became a hysterical anti-Trumper? Of course I do. I give certain people a pass. I will still listen to old school Bruce Springsteen. I will still listen to Born to Run, that entire album. I'll still listen to Nebraska. I'll still listen to Tunnel of Love. I'm naming Bruce Springsteen records. E Street Shuffle. I'll still listen to. What am I forgetting? What's like the major Bruce Springsteen record that I'm drawing a blank on? The Rising. There we go. That Bruce wrote after 9/11. My ex-girlfriend Erica, dear Erica, I remember her father. He was an oral surgeon, made really good coin, and had a really nice house in Westwood. Not enormous, but he had a jacuzzi and he had a keg of Sierra Nevada Pale Ale. And I would joke around in the past saying that that was a reason to date Erica longer than I did. But that's a really assholeish thing to say. But it was now I have to be content with the father-in-law that drops off stale brown ale from Maine. That's like 4 years old and counting. But that keg was the best. But I remember after 9/11, he would blast that record nonstop. And it was definitely gave him a place of extreme patriotism. He had, you could say, one of the Dr. Loberg had one of the first versions of what you call a man cave, but his man cave is a little more distinguished than other man caves because he was this Nordic god athlete, and he had it was essentially his trophy room, and he got up at the crack of dawn and would practice rowing at the I'm almost positive he went to the like Marina like yacht club like dock area by where like the Ritz Carlton is in Marina Del Rey, and that's where he would row. He was in great shape, and so if we're gonna talk about old school loves, Sierra Nevada Pale Ale. I don't know if I put a spotlight on this podcast, but it would definitely be at the top of the list. I did an advertising campaign for it where I call it the Pale Ale that never gets stale. When I was trying to get copywriting jobs, I put together all these love poems or love letters to first loves. In this case, it was Sierra Nevada Pale Ale. And then I had these poems that were essentially about Katie, my summer wind, first love in the Cape, one summer in '96. And so you'd read the poem, like 4 lines, and at the bottom it would say, Sierra Nevada, you never got over us, did you? And those are special. It didn't give me any advertising work. I got some responses such as, well, you have talent, but I can't help you, and you're a little old to be kickstarting a copywriting career. And then I heard something, well, it's not like conceptual enough. There's no call to action. You pining over a girl that was out of your league, that compartmentalize your summer romance is not going to get you a copywriting job for 45K in Manhattan or Steve McCann Erickson. But I remember my old friends, I call them old friends because used to have friends and we used to hang out. And we, all the time, and went to the city, and they'd always bust my balls for drinking Sierra Nevada. And I just fell in love with it. I did get Sierra Nevada for my engagement party. I went to Yonkers. Not the first place you think of, going to some liquor wholesaler there asking for a keg of Sierra Nevada. He looked at me and he said, "Okay, hey, why don't you take your white privilege on crack and go back to fucking Scarsdale with your sheehy dick tucked in between your legs? Thanks." But I did find the keg in Harrison. Of course, leave it to my dad. Whenever there's an extreme love in my life, my dad will always consistently dump on it and minimize it and with nothing to do to support it. I mean, the man was already hosting the engagement party, but wouldn't spend the extra shekels for the Sierra Nevada. I had to take care of that on my own. Very similar to when he got me a ticket for Cancun my senior year. All my friends went. I wasn't singularly special here. But it's like, yeah, so you're going to take all these rookie cards that you've been collecting. I know that you had this fantasy of making money, or you thought that you could actually collect all these rookie cards and all these rookie cards that represented members of the original Dream Team in '96, and you thought that they'd be worth something. So, like, we'll see if they're worth something, but and if you can get anything out of them, you're going to use that money for drinking money. So when you go to Cancun, and you're going to pass out prematurely from drinking too many tequila poppers, and you're going to come back with no tan. And your alternative school teacher is going to look at you as if you're a complete wastoid that should never been accepted into the alternative school, especially when you started taking up weed senior year, and at one point fell asleep because you were so burnt out from trying to recapture the giggles, like the first time you watched Dark Crystal, and then you pass out, fall asleep, whatever you want to say, not pass out, but fall asleep and doze when we had a Holocaust survivor speaker. So that's a nice classy touch. But Sierra Nevada, I fell in love with that beer from the very beginning. I did not like my first sip of beer. A little bit of a struggle. Coors Extra Gold. Remember, like it was yesterday. I was drinking with my friend Ari, and Ari was my best bud growing up. We watched Dice Rules together. We'd sleepovers. We did sketches for Julius Caesar. My first writing bud. I love you, Ari. And Ari was very instrumental in me becoming a recommended writer. I had written a 30 Rock script, and he'd read it, and he said, "Killer, love the script, but I think you do a better ending." And I did a better ending, and it made me a recommended writer. Why is that significant? Because this contest was organized by this guy, Larry Brody, went for a bunch of TV shows back in the 70s, and he'd organized this contest, and it was an important distinction. And that wasn't my first spec script. I had been working at it for a little bit. Hadn't done much stand up at that point, but a little bit. So I throw my balls on the line. And again, when I started doing stand up in LA, that first year of open mics, I didn't have any buds that ever came to any shows. I didn't invite any. I had friends that I could have invited, but I didn't. I had Shakes, I had Cedric, I had Jay, but I didn't feel that I was good enough. I mean, it was because I wasn't getting laughs. But I braved that on my own. So to eventually get that writing distinction was a big deal, especially after bombing in Brooklyn. Not every set was good. But, and I remember Ari visiting me in Brooklyn. Understand, he's got like a kidney practice at this point. He lives in Connecticut. He's very secure in life. So this wife, Melissa, nice Jewish girl from Long Island, I think, or New Jersey. Like, what's the difference? And I had Sierra Nevada in the fridge, and I had this like CD they got in Manhattan from PC Richards, I think. And it was a collection of like jazz tunes from like Woody Allen records and my Park Slope Railroad apartment. And he was very smitten. I had my office, and he got a little jealous. Meanwhile, this kid's never had panic attacks. He's never confused cocaine for crystal meth. All of a sudden, I'm acting like a coked out Tony the Tiger, going, "This shit is great." But, and has never had to deal with his parents looking at him as if he's a regrettable, dumb fuck, mongoloid moron that they never wanted in the first place. But nonetheless, Ari was jealous of my existence in Park Slope that day. I was working as an IT headhunter. And so I'm not going to talk about Woody Allen films being a first love, but Sierra Nevada is for sure. But when I first started drinking, I didn't start drinking Sierra Nevada. I'm trying to think who introduced me to Sierra Nevada because I certainly wasn't drinking them in high school. I think it had to be Discovery in college. Back then, six packs were like $6.99. I used to go to Walgreens. I went to a posh private school called Lake Forest College in North Shore of Illinois. I'm not boasting, but it's where Vince Vaughn's from, Lake Forest, where John Hughes lives. Graves there. If I eventually sell my script, Gum King of New York, I am going to visit there and pay homage. And I will pour a Sierra Nevada Pale Ale on the ground for John Hughes. And I remember I used to go to Walgreens, and six packs were like $6.99, and that was great. But again, I have no freaking clue who introduced me to Sierra Nevada Pale Ale. I have, I, you would think, like I remember where I met Katie. I know how I got into the Knicks, but hair metal. Remember that Guns N' Roses video like it was yesterday. Welcome to the Jungle. But I don't know. It could have been this guy John, who was an upperclassman. He was banging this girl Orla eventually, who was super hot, great tits. Would have loved to have fucked her, but I had no like fucking streak that gave me the confidence to just go for it. But he might have, but I don't know. But it's very interesting because this story that I'm writing, The Gum King of New York, it's about a divorced dad who gets involved in a sober lifestyle brand for a brand of, then they sell a brand of hop flavored gum called Hoporama Chew. And really, I mean, my love of hops, I didn't think about it till now, started with Sierra Nevada Pale Ale, the pale ale that never gets stale. So, because like, how great would it be if you had a gum that tasted like hops and it could make it out great again? So, I have not had a beer for the past 11 and a half months, almost. I did do a year without beer before, but I decided to do a year without Goonish. Goonish is Yiddish for nothing. So, no Adderall, no weed, no beer. Now, am I really happy with, my progress, my literary output, my comedy? I mean, I did just Red Pill. I sent to everyone under the sun, and no one's gotten back to me. But I have been giving the book out to people that have been signing up as partners to work with the Danbury Diesel. So that's been rewarding. And if they read it, I know they're going to love it because it's great material. I wouldn't have been pushed into the world if I didn't think it was great. And I am proud of it, and it's work that I did do sober, meaning I didn't edit on Adderall. So that feels good. And this Gum King in New York, I negotiated 5 days where my wife is going to be in Delaware with my kids, so I'll be able to go over everything and see if it's something great that I get sent to David Johansen, lead singer of the New York Dolls, and I have a connection with him through Jorge at the Carlisle. I went there for my birthday and went there with my son Samuel, and we were making Jorge laugh a lot. I talked about David Johansen's residency there, and I said I'm working the script King, New York. I got a part for David. When I'm done writing it, can I give it to you? And if you like it, would you mind giving it to David for a read? And he said no problem. So that would be freaking awesome. So I'm mentioning David Johansen. So a part of this Old School Love podcast that I was going to talk about, where a segment is trading records day. And a momentous trade that was just made was my son traded me the best of Kid Rock on vinyl, a former birthday gift, and Eagles, Hotel California for Led Zeppelin, Houses of the Holy. Momentous trade, I know. And obviously nobody wants to part with House of the Holy, but my son wanted to get rid of Kid Rock's greatest hits. He traded a lot for it, and but he hates Kid Rock because I sent my book just red pilled to his honky tonk steakhouse in Nashville and it never got back to me. So that's very sweet. And so I wanted to hook up the hunger with what I think is Led Zeppelin's most complete, kick-ass, melodic, varied, pitch perfect album, that being House of the Holy. I remember falling in love with Led Zeppelin in college because of that. That and the BBC sessions. So that's special. And but the main reason why I wanted to do an old school up podcast, I mentioned the Schmooze because I had a meeting today with a moving company, and the guy in charge of marketing has a relationship with the Giants, and they're doing a marketing campaign with them, and we got into a sports spiel, and I had mentioned Steve Summers and how I had sent him a New York Nick dictionary during the height of insanity when everyone was getting crazy with the puns. And then I gave my example. God forbid I memorize the other examples, but the one I think is the funniest is spree, in honor of Latrell Sprewell. And so it's spree, verb, and that means the definition is spree, verb, to flee from an impending chokehold. So towards the end of the meeting, I said, it's a good day when you could have a meeting and reference the schmooze. And that got a laugh. So that was a beautiful New York moment that would not be experienced in Oklahoma, or maybe some places in Florida. Maybe. And they are a moving company. So one of the questions that was always tempting to ask is, so are you guys keeping busy these days since everyone moved to Florida already? But I wanted to perform a piece. I know that right now it does not sound like I'm performing. It sounds like I'm burnt out. It sounds like I'm dejected. But I'm shocked that friends have not gotten back to me. I I text material to a certain group of people, and I'm not gonna say they always get back to me, but it's always great when you get the crying emojis, and sometimes people will quote the lines that they really loved. But and I understand that a lot of these sports references are very dated, but again, I'm not sending these jokes to people that were born in 1990. And I think this is all gold. And to prove my instincts here, I am going to blast every freaking sports guy in New York that works for the Daily News, New York Post, and I want Funny Man Props credit for this material because I think it's great. I wouldn't have shared it. I wouldn't have jammed it down their fucking throats if I didn't think it was great. And I thought, okay, well, you could perform it on your podcast. And it's all inspired because there was Knicks Legend Night at the Garden. It's the first season I'm watching the Knicks in ages. And because I told the kids, look, we got Karl Anthony Towns, we can make some noise this year. And did I bomb my dad growing up watching the Knicks a little bit? Yeah, but has it been 10 times more special by knowing my kids by watching the Knicks? Most definitely. So, but it was Knicks Legend Night, and during halftime they talk about once a Knick, always a Knick, and I'm seeing these assemblage of Knicks, and it was just really pathetic, and it totally depressed me because no one ever wants shit for the Knicks. I mean, of course, you got like the Clyde Frazier and the Earl Pearl, but that means it's meaningless to me. 'Cause it has happened in my lifetime. So I got to see fucking Tim Thomas's mug and Kenny Skywalker, and it was just too funny. So this is what I wrote in honor of New York's Legend Night. It also made me realize that getting any sort of a straight writing job is just not gonna fucking cut it for me. I gotta make my mark in fiction, comedy fiction, creative nonfiction, maybe, maybe, but not really. Here we go. Knicks Legend Night. wasn't too depressing. John Starks helped us get to the finals in '94. Still, he shot us out of a ring, so I don't like him looking so well rested ever since. Now Starks is seen at Garden games drinking Bud Light with David Lee. David Lee does his best to mug it up during the Garden photo op, thinking, I love you, John, but don't get too close. Your choker stench hasn't worn off completely. But seriously, Garden of Legends night at the Garden was brutal to watch. Ewing is greeted by half-hearted participation trophy cheers. Eddie Curry looks like a mugshot come to life. Gerald Wilkins, Dominic Wilkins' younger brother, takes a selfie to get excited for his appearance. What? He has to start a human highlight reel sooner or later. Charles Smith waves to the crowd and regrets it immediately. Tip for Charles Smith: never show your face in the Garden again. Carl Anthony Towns feels like Kevin Willis in your presence. When you missed the chance to take a 3-0 lead against the Bulls at the Garden in the Eastern Conference Finals and chip away at MJ's infallible greatness by blowing 4 failed layups in a row, you tippy-toe your ass back to Westport, Connecticut. Softy. So fuck off already, flat top, aka Urkel in shoulder pads. Holla! Hardcore Schmooze lives. Thank you very much. And how do you not include Nate Robinson in Knicks Legend Night? He won the slam dunk contest one more time than Kenny Skywalker ever did. 3 in total for those keeping score at home, most ever. And Nate Robinson doesn't look like the one cut-off Marley kid living off resin hits and social security. Tough Gong lives. Holla! Hardcore Schmooze Day. Thank you very much. Did Jeremy Lin get an invite to the Garden Legends festivity? Or did J.R. Smith bitch about the golden child that plopped into our fucking lap out of the blue? Did J.R. Smith bitch about the golden child hogging the bike lane up to himself again? Hardcore Schmooze Day. All I can take no more. Dice lives. Holla. Indian newsstands, Greek diners, and ass fucking parties every night of the week. That's New York. How are ya? Holla! Hardcore Schmooze Day. Thank you very much. Of course, the most glaring admission on Knicks Legend Night was Charles Oakley. But after being thrown into Garden jail for heckling Dolan, I wasn't banking on his appearance there on Garden Legends Night. That's like banking on Kevin Durant getting hired to do a TED Talk on how to block out the sound of cyber bullying. Hardcore Schmooze Day. Thank you very much. Nate and Oak, great. Holla! Nate and Oak, great. Thank you very much.